Yeah, so I'll be starting this training on SAP Treasury Risk Management. We'll be covering cash management and some part of in-house cash as well. So before I get started, I hope everyone is doing well. Uh, just just wanted to understand the background a little bit. I'm assuming that everyone has some kind of experience in SAP and also if some kind of experience in finance. But if something is not covered, so you think that that's not based on your experience, just let me know. I'll try to cover it in a way so that everyone can understand it. So this is the overview. This is more of an overview session. I'll be going through all these topics on a very high level, discussing one or two topics in detail also, just to give you the idea how we will go about the training. It will be less in the system today, more of a understanding session. And as we go along, we'll make sure that we show each and everything in the system from implementation to end user point of view. So these are the topics that you can flash on my screen. You can see the topics that we'll be covering. So let's get started with with the treasury overview. So before even talking about SAP Treasury, I think it's important to understand Treasury, what is Treasury, and how it is it in a business context. So Treasury, when we talk about Treasury, it involves the management of money. It involves the management of your financial risks. Financial risk can be in different forms. The priority is always to ensure that the business that is running, it always has the money to to make sure that it has money to manage its day-to-day business needs. So when we talk about it has money, it should have money, it all becomes more relevant with respect to cash flow. So if you have a clear visibility of your cash flow, you will have the money, you will have the visibility to make sure that you can do the proper investments. In today's organizations, in today's world where the fluctuations are high and with the current situation prevailing, treasury becomes even more important. Larger organizations, for example, it's very important for them to effectively manage their capital, and therefore the treasury, the investments we make to keep the money in a common account, the cash pooling, all these terms become more important. So we'll discuss about these terms as we go ahead. For now, it's just a TRM overview. So you see, we cover the different type of. If you see my screen from the transaction manager, which is one of the most important modules of TRM, uh, it is we will have a slide just based on transaction manager and how treasury works, front office, back office, accounting, or in different organizations we term as front office, middle office, back office, and various type of instruments that are created. It could be of money market, over the counter, it could be traded, exchange traded instruments, it could be derivatives, it could be securities, based on the needs, how these instruments are created and how it is decided to create, when to create these instruments. And then comes one of the most important part of treasury, which is hedge management. When we talk about hedge management, it is just mitigating the risk. So in a current market situation, let's take an example here. In a current market situation where the exchange rates are fluctuating every day, I am having my organization has a it's global in nature. So my organization also has its subsidiaries in US, it also has subsidiaries in Europe, but my local currency is INR, which means I invest all my money through INR. Now I cannot afford to have losses just because the exchange rate is fluctuating every day. Today $1 is 70 rupees, tomorrow it becomes 80 rupees. And I have to buy something of $1,000. So that directly becomes a loss of 10,000 rupees for me in my local currency if I do not consider the exchange rate fluctuations. So mitigating this risk, making sure how we can get away from these exchange rate fluctuations, it doesn't affect our company. So that is how when we talk about hedge, it's all about mitigating these risks. Then we talk about analyzers. So analyzers, now you want to make sure that you are doing a trade with a counterparty, but that counterparty could be a bank, counterparty could be another organization, counterparty could be someone who is you are doing trade with. So you want to make sure that that part of the other organization doesn't become doesn't become that owes you money, you get that amount of money. So we that kind of things we check in credit risk analyzer, the credit ratings of the company, the credit ratings of banks, how to make sure that the counterparty risk can be avoided. Market risk analyzer mostly covers the part where we see the current market situation and do some kind of analysis based on all the exchange rate, interest rate, and all these things, and make sure that the changes in the market, we can create scenarios in the system. If, for example, today exchange rate is 10, I can simulate a scenario where I can make the exchange rate to 12 or 13 or 15 and see how my company is impacted. Now, when we talk about all these things, we do a lot of investments in treasury, we do a lot of risk mitigation in treasury. When we implement the treasury system, the initial objective of a CFO or a treasurer is never to is never to gain money through treasury. Although it over time it changes and people try to make sure that they earn some money by implementing treasury, but initially a treasury is always a cost center. By cost center, I mean we whenever treasury is implemented, it is a cost to a business, just to make sure that you are not making any loss apart from your operational costs. So if you are making a loss from your operational cost from the company's production, that doesn't cover in treasury. But you should not make loss because of an external exchange rate or external interest rate or external factors which should not impact your company. Let me move more into SAP Treasury now. Um, Treasury is generally divided into three departments as we talk about: front office, middle office, back office. Front office is the one which creates transactions and exercise rights. Now, there are different activities and it's also divided on the organization. Organization chooses what it wants its front office to do, but this is more of a general scenario. Now, when we talk about create transactions, let's think of an SAP. Assuming that uh, all of you are at least some of you know what how do you create a invoice or how do you create a general voucher through SAP, say FB01 or FB60 or FB70. So you create a vendor invoice. Similarly, in treasury, you create a trade. When we talk about trade, it could be a money market trade. So let's take a simple example. I want to do some investment with my bank. I choose fixed deposit. So fixed deposit, we can create that same transaction in SAP. So for fixed deposit, what I need to know? I need to know how much of the money I want to invest, for what amount of time, what is the interest on that I will receive, what is if it's going to be capitalized interest or I'll get the interest at the end of the cycle, how often I'll get interest. All those things you enter into a trade. And the most important thing, start period, end period, and with whom you are doing the fixed term deposit. For example, I decide today to go with the HDFC Bank. So HDFC Bank becomes my counterparty in this case, right? So Bank becomes my counterparty. My entity is XXXX. So this entity decides to do trade with HDFC Bank and it's a fixed term deposit. I invest 1000 rupees and I invest it for 5 years with the fixed interest rate or variable interest rate of 5%. Fixed. So when I talk about this is a very simple example that all of us deal with, right? So same trade I have to create in SAP. So who will create this trade for me? My front office department. What the middle office will do now? Middle office will make sure that the trade there is a provision in SAP where we can use that dual control principle. It's an optional, but we can do that. So if I create the trade, I cannot release it or settle it. So someone else from my company, based on rules, they have to settle the trade or release the trade to make sure it's available. Now, once they settle the trade, it's a part of middle office. They validate. Then we send the confirmation. Now, confirmation correspondence becomes very important here. Whatever trade I am creating in the system, the details of those trades should go to my counterparty, which is HDFC Bank, right? So it could be in various forms, confirmation, it could be dealing slip, various different forms based on the kind of trade we are creating. And HDFC Bank will further say, in case it's applicable, they will send a counter confirmation that yes, your trade has been created or whatever it is, right? Now, once this is done, my trade is created and settled or released, my back office or accounting team will make sure that they do the accounting for this. So I'll also try to show one example in Excel how does this work. But they'll try to make sure everything is posted to SAP Ledger, SAP Subledger. Treasury is a subledger of finance. So in Treasury, the accounting that is posted, it transfers to the general ledger, which is FI. And at closing also, during the month end closing or the quarter end closing, year end closing, we post the accruals, we post the valuations to make sure unrealized gain and loss, realized gain and loss when the trade is finally concluded. All these things will be done by back office team or the accounting team. So this diagram also covers that part of the program, that part of our treasury. Okay, so let's move to the next slide. Let me know if any questions are there, or we can also take it at the end of the session, whatever is comfortable with the audience. So let's move to next topic. As I said, we'll cover transaction manager in detail. Transaction manager is one of the most powerful tools in our treasury. So if I say I know transaction manager completely, I know, I would say 60 or 70% of SAP TRM. That is how powerful this tool is. It is very closely integrated with all our instruments. You can see here money market, foreign exchange, securities, derivatives, commodities, trade finance. It is very closely integrated. It tracks the trades throughout their life cycle, which means from creation of a trade to the payments, everything is tracked under this till the maturity. So everything is tracked under this transaction manager. So this is one of the most crucial things when we talk about treasury. It covers our accounting part. It covers integrates with all the front office, middle office, back office teams. They perform their activities in this transaction manager. Uh, Hedging, potential risk, features, all these things are covered as part of transaction manager. Okay, let's move to one example and see if we can understand it better. Just before moving to an example, let's see if we can understand the business partner. Now, I hope many of you are already aware of what a business partner is. In SAP, business partner is a comprehensive term which might have very different roles. So it can have a vendor role, it can have a customer role, but all those things, when we talk about business partner, all those things came into S4 HANA in finance. A vendor role, a customer role, a sales role, without FI vendor or a simple vendor. So all those things came into S4 HANA in FI. But Treasury has been using business partner since it was introduced in SAP. In Treasury, the business partner is one of the most used things from the beginning. In finance, it has moved from vendor, your FK03 screens to BP screen, or your customer screen to BP screen. But in Treasury, it has always been business partner, and it always has been different roles. Different roles. Let's talk about a general role. It's very similar to what you would have seen in finance. A general role would would capture your address details, your bank details, uh, your control, trading partner, all those things. But treasury has a specific role which is called counterparty role. Now, we discussed previously about our fixed term deposit example. So fixed term deposit, we said, okay, it's HDFC is the counterparty. Now, suppose you have to create a trade with HDFC Bank. You need to create a counterpart in the system, which is HDFC. So how I create a counterpart in the system? I create a business partner for it. When I create a business partner for it, I mention all the address details and all those necessary things, name, address, street, and all those things. Then I provide the bank details. In payment details or bank details, what we provide is we provide the account numbers, the account numbers that will be used when we process our trade. Then we assign this counterparty role to a company code data, as you see here. This company code data, in Treasury, we call it standing instructions. So what this company code data would contain, it would again, now this company code data, we create the data and assign it to a particular trade. So system will ensure when you create a transaction, when you create a trade, a fixed term deposit trade, for example, it will pick all the data from this counterparty, who is the payer, who is the payee, which means payer and beneficiary, the bank details of payer, bank details of beneficiary. Uh, if this counterparty can be used for this particular trade or not. There are authorizations that which counterparty can be used for bonds, which can be used for fixed term deposit, which can be used for money market fund, mutual fund, which can be used for FX trades. Similarly, now all this data is contained in this business partner. This is the most important master data of Treasury. So we will be covering an entire session on business partner once we start our training. Meanwhile, I'll talk through one important instrument, money market instrument, and let's try to look at this instrument also in Excel and see how we can, link it to to the scenario where you can understand this. Intercompany loans. What as the term is very clear in itself, intercompany loan is a loan between two subsidiaries within a company. So within a company, I have two subsidiaries. I want to create an intercompany loan. One will have borrowing transaction, one will have lending transaction. As we discussed previously, maintaining the master data, which is business partner, is important. Market data, yeah, if specifically if we go with variable interest rate, where we go with do not go with the fixed interest rate and the variable interest rate based on the market conditions, then market data becomes important. But otherwise, it is not in this case. Then we perform all the back office activities or the accounting activities here. Let's see if I can illustrate this better in an Excel. You can see my Excel.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. Within a company, I have two entities, X and Y. X and Y decide to go an intercompany loan between them. X needs money. So X needs money. It is a borrowing transaction. Now, first we create a trade in SAP. I could have shown this in SAP also, but I think before going to SAP, it's important to understand this because the screens can get confusing at times. So this is FTR underscore create is the transaction code, or we can add it in favorites. It's a transaction code to create the trades. So first of all, let's talk about what are the important things when you create a trade. What would you give as the header? Company code, which is X. It's a 4-digit, I know, but I'll just mark it X for now. Next thing, what I want to do, I want to create an intercompany loan. So if I want to create an intercompany loan, I have to tell system that I have to create an intercompany loan. So in SAP, SAP gives us a standard thing called product type. SAP gives product category and product type. Product category is predefined by SAP. consultants cannot change the product category. Product type is something which we can configure on our own, copying the standard product types or making a changes to based on our client requirement. Now product type, I create a product type. This is a configuration in the system initially, very simple configuration. I create a product type named ICL, just making the naming convention simpler. ICL stands for intercompany loan. Now once I create this product type in the system, I assign it to a product category in the configuration which SAP has given specifically for money market, because intercompany loan is my money market. Over the counter trade. Over the counter trade, what does over the counter trade means? It means I am doing a transaction with another entity. I'm transaction doing a transaction with another entity without involving uh, exchange into it, or without involving trading into it. I do not use the trading rates or the exchange rates with respect to market, but we agree on our own exchange rates. It's just a mutual agreement between two parties. Just to tell you, intercompany loan is generally a legal document also. So it's not that I can just do it. You might think that we can do it through other ways also. It's very similar to intercompany payments or a vendor and customer exchanging payments. Yes, it is similar to that, but it's a legal document and you cannot create it as we can relate it to invoice in certain scenarios, but in general in treasury it's created separately. Now after this, what would you need? Now create, after mentioning that I am creating an intercompany loan, it system picks the properties of intercompany loan from the system. The next thing I do is I use a transaction type. What is a transaction type now? Within a product type, I differentiate if my intercompany loan is a lender or a borrower. Now my X needs money. So X is a borrower. So I create a transaction type, say BOR. Or if you are comfortable with 100 to 100, you can do that, but just the naming convention make it simpler. It is BOR. So my company X creates a product type intercompany loan with a transaction type borrowing because it needs money. And what it needs to do, next thing, counterparty, with whom it creates a trade. What is the counterparty? As I said in my previous slide, counterparty is a business partner in SAP Treasury. So now if I have to use a business partner, I am creating a trade with Y, right? I am creating a trade with Y. Is it an external counterparty? No, it's an internal counterparty. So in my system, in the transaction code BP, to create a BP, I'll create a I'll create two BPs, BPX, or let's say just to make it simpler for intercompany loan, ICX, ICY. These two are my BPs. So in this case, I'll use a BP called ICY. Make sense? Because my counterpart is ICY, right? What next thing I do in the system? What is the next important thing you think? This I enter on the header. These are the details I enter on the header. Like you enter document date, posting date for creating a vendor invoice, a document type. These things become part of header, right? So this becomes a header currency. You can give it in header. You can give it in the details as well. So I decide to do USD or INR, whatever. It's fine. Now, when I create this trade, these are the things I give in the header. I enter. As soon as you enter, you see a kind of a complex structure with many tabs and different kind of criterias. Uh, Now let's think about an intercompany loan or a fixed deposit. The screen remains very similar. We have options to customize the field screen based on our products. Also, SAP gives certain things because exchange traded instruments like bonds and stocks and mutual funds will be different in nature, because dividend comes into those and all those things come, and you have to mark it in units. When you do a mutual fund, if you invest in mutual fund, or you do securities, or you buy stocks, it's always in units, right? So there the screen becomes a little different, but this is more simpler in nature. That is a bit complex, so we'll move on to that later, but this is a bit simpler in nature. When you create a trade, what do you need to do? You need to provide, what is the most important thing? Amount. Say
Here
1 million.
one doubt.
Yes.
Yeah. Why do we need to create the X as a BP? Already
Sorry,
we have the company code as X. Why do we
we
need to
have the
create the BP for the X? Already,
we will create it.
yeah, company
I will
code is
come to that.
X already. Company code.
So we will have two BPs, X and Y, right? I name it as IC, ICLX or ICY, whatever you are comfortable with. Now I create this in BP transaction code initially. That is my master data. I have not shown you how to create master data, but you enter the details of IC space X in master data. You enter the details of IC underscore Y in master data. You create address and, as I said, bank details and all those things. We will have one entire session on this master data piece. It's most important. But for now, just assume that these two BPs are created into the system when you create this trade. Now I am using ICY. I will also use ICX, but I'll come to that later. Okay, I'll come to this just after finishing this amount, this piece of trade. Okay, so my amount is 1 million. I can write it as 1M for now. System also accepts this as 1M for just to, if we there's a configuration, we can make it 1T. T means thousand, M means million, and we can make sure that we do that configuration. System accept 1M as 1 million, 1.3M as 1.3 million. So those all configurations are easy in SAP to make sure that end user has it's easy for end user. Now after entering the amount, what should I give? Start date. Okay, so in again in SAP it is very easy to give start date and end date. I can give plus one means today plus one date, plus one Y means plus one year. Simple configurations. I say my start date starts today. End date. I create a loan for 1 year. So which is 26/04/2021. Right? I create a loan for 1 year. Now what else you think would be important? There are many other things, but just think just from a general point of view, what what would you need to create a trade? So you have start date, end date. One important thing, interest rate. As I said, interest rate could be fixed, it could be variable. We could take it from reference interest rates from LIBOR, like London International Bank of, and different banks also. Well, let's see in this example, just considering this a simple example, I mark it 10% interest for 1 year. Very, very practically, very irrelevant example. You'll not have 10% interest on an intercompany loan within a company, but just to make the calculations easy. So I create this trade. I mark interest rate as 10%, and now this trade is created. What else I need to give in the system? I can give how the interest is calculated. So interest calculation method we call it interest calculation method. Like if my interest is calculated based on 360 days in a year or 365 days. So I say actual divided by 360, just 365. Let's take a normal scenario, 365 days in a year. And then in the next screen, as I switch off the tabs, there are two important things, portfolio and valuation class. Again, we can make a sim we can this is these all are configurations, just to not confuse. These all are configurations. We need to configure it first before we can use these things, right? Now portfolio, what does a portfolio mean for you? A portfolio in general, it's just your grouping of transactions, right? You group transactions based on the reporting requirements. Now why portfolio becomes important? Now portfolio becomes important because you in my company I might need to group different transactions based on some criteria, and that I can define in the configuration. For now I take a simple IC loan, but I can have different portfolios and use different account determination for it, which means different GL accounting, so that in reporting I can reflect it differently. Valuation class, let's take a simple example of valuation class. I can have a short term loan. My company identifies a short term loan less than 1 year. 1 year or more, it identifies it as a long term loan. And Why it is important? Because my accounting department wants different GL accounts to be hit when I create a short term loan, when I create a long term loan. So this is my long term loan for now, right? This is my long term loan. So here my valuation class becomes my long term loan. What else? What else we need? We need frequency. Frequency means when does the interest apply? Do I want to pay interest monthly, quarterly, variable in at I can define the dates when I want interest, or at the end of the term. I say at end of the term. So when the loan matures, I am okay to get the interest. Right? These are some of the important things we give. Then system based on the counterparty that we gave here, ICY, it picks all the payment details. It picks the pair, it picks the pay based on the currency that we assign to the transaction type in the business partner master data. Business partner master data in treasury is a bit more complex than your finance business partner. It has a lot of tabs, it has a lot of things, because you see, you create a trade and everything gets determined itself. You don't need to do anything while entering a trade. You don't need to give the pair account, pay account. You don't need to give the payment methods that will be used for the payment. You don't need to give other details which is relevant. You don't need to give withholding tax if applicable. All those things are determined from BP. So BP is an important aspect here. Now system, when, if you remember my PPT, it also said something called mirror. So what does mirror mean? As soon as I create this trade, it automatically gets mirrored in Y. Again, it is not automatically, I mean, if I do the configuration, obviously. It's not, nothing is automated unless we do the configuration. So I just need to create a trade on company code X and company code Y, the trade is automatically created. Just system automatically determines this is Y. Obviously, that is lending, this is borrowing, all a configuration. That is why this is X. Everything else remains same, right? Simple. Now, Y is a lender with a counterparty ICX, and everything else remains same, right? Now, I create this deal, I save this deal, then if I enable release and settle those things, or release by myself or release by another user, I can do that in the configurations. Once I do that, it goes for release. Person Abhi has created the trade, and Shekhar releases the trade. Once the trade is released, after that, what is the next step? Accounting, as I said, trade created. Also, counter confirmation. When we settle the trade, confirmation is important. So, if your confirmation is active, because this is a scenario of within our company two trades, so I might activate correspondence, I might not. But if I activate, this is a legal document. As I said, when a legal document is created in correspondence, I create a form. With help of my ABAPer, I create a form which will be passed to, based on the legal requirements of my company, in the same format. I give those instructions to my ABAPer. He creates a form for me. I do the configuration in the system based on which trade, which is the recipient class should be picked, and all those details. And that will be sent to the, this will be sent to each other. So this kind of form will be sent that this loan is created. It's a legal document. It becomes a legal document. Now, next thing is accounting will do. Middle office has done its parts. Front office has created this. Front office has created this trade. It has automatically got mirrored. Middle office has released the trade. It has done the send the correspondence to the counterparty. Back office comes into picture. Back office accounting. What does accounting do? Accounting will make sure that this is posted. Today is 26th. I decide to post this. Now, when I decide to post this on 26 4, what would be my accounting entry? Accounting entry becomes very important uh, in all of our finance, treasury also. So this is borrowing. Borrowing means money is going. What on day one it is receiving money. Main bank debit, right? That is the end result. So my IC loan position account. IC loan position account. I am again assuming a little bit that you have little background to accounting at least. So if you do not have, you can let me know. We can again go in details, but I'm just assuming you have little background in accounting. So IC loan position account. I said I have two general valuation class. So I will make it as long-term loan just to make sure that my short-term loan account is different, is debit. And based on business to business, in some business we decide to do payments through F111. F111 is something which is very similar to F110 used in treasury and various other modules just for the payment request. So debit my payment request, payment request. Or if you just want to ignore that scenario for now, you can say bank clearing. We can configure it the way we want. We can exclude F111 and do the payments from, if your payments are not going through SAP, you can just exclude this part. Or you can include this and do the payments through SAP. When we actually do the setup, we will do it through SAP because end-to-end cycle will run it through SAP. This is the accounting generated, right? Considering there is no withholding tax. Even withholding tax is there, that will not get just calculated, right? So just opposite here on the lender side. This loan is a liability for company X and it's a asset for company code Y. So based on that, we have the accounting entry generated. This is the first accounting entry. Now, assuming the payment is done and you have received the bank statement also. So again, when you receive the bank statement, again, important part, you receive the bank statement. I am not covering F111 scenario just to make it short. We have the limited time, but in between there will be one trade, which is pay rec to bank clearing and then bank clearing to main cash. Here is main cash account. As I said, what is this deal? Sorry, opposite. What is this deal? This is on the first day of the trade, my X is receiving money because it is borrowing. So if I borrow the money, I take a loan today, bank will send me money. My main cash account is debit, right? Simple. Similarly, on the opposite side, it is opposite, right? So here it becomes main cash becomes credit because it is lending the money, although it's on the asset side, but it is still lending the money, right? So this is my accounting. Now you see this and this. If I try to just this and this become zero, so my final accounting remains between main cash and IC loan. Similarly here, okay. Now this is my initial accounting that will happen when we create a IC loan. Now think about month end. Month end is, what do you do at month end activities? Valuation, accruals, and all those things, right? You have to post the unrealized gain loss based on, because you have to prepare the balance sheets for each entity. You have to post the accruals. You have to make sure that your interest is posted correctly. So what do you do on the month end? Accruals. Let's talk about accrual case. We cannot cover all cases. Let's talk a simple accrual case. But what will accrual do? Accrual is something. Okay, what is an accrual first? Accrual or deferral. When we talk about accrual, let's think of a very simple scenario. Our post-paid transactions. I take in finance terms accrual, I relate it to post-paid, so it becomes easy for everyone. My bill lasts from 15 of this month to 15 of next month. That is how I get my Airtel postpaid bill. But at end of each month, I want to do the accounting. I have not paid for it, but I want to capture it in accounting books because 15 days of that has been captured in this month, right? I cannot put the entire 1 month amount, 400 rupees, in next month accounting books. It is incorrect. I have to put half in this month, half in next month, right? But I'll only do the actual payment next month. But I still want to make sure that I put it in my accounting books this month also. So what I do a TPM 44 in SAP. Accrual, deferral, just opposite. Just consider a prepaid, you already buy something, but that is for a period of 3 months. You do the payment together, but you want to book it month by month, not together. Simple. So TPM44 is, what is TPM44? It is a transaction code for accruals. So what will be the, this is X, okay, this is Y. Everything will be just opposite. X. So my intercompany long-term account here becomes debit, and my interest account, interest or accrued interest, let me write it. Accrued interest becomes credit, right? Simple. Now, what do you think how this accrual amount is calculated? It's important to understand the calculations also, right? So I have taken a loan of 1 million, which is 10 lakh rupees, 10 lakh USD, 100,000, 10,000 lakh, 10 lakh, over a period of 1 year with 10% interest. So what is my total interest? 0.1 into this amount. 1 lakh USD is my interest. So 1 lakh USD I am liable to pay for a period of 365 days, considering a simple scenario when it's an exact 1 year loan. Okay. It again, it will become further complicated if you have to use the, if you include this date, you include this date, you include the end date, you include the start date as part of interest. But that is something we can configure. Just assuming a simple scenario, 365 days, we include one of the days. We include the first day, but not the last day in the interest. 365 days. So what is my interest for 1 day? Interest for 1 day is this, right? Now, at the end of this month, I have created a loan on 26th. This month is for 30 days. So on, for this month, only 5 days are relevant for interest. Agreed? So 5 days are relevant. Interest, this is interest for 1 day. Interest for 1 day. Interest for 1 year. Okay. Now interest for 5 days, which is 26 April to 30 April. What it becomes is equals to this into 5, which is 1369.86. This is the exact amount which will come here, right? What amount was coming here? 1 million. 1 million, right? All 1 million, all 23, 24, 25 rows till column E 1 million. Here, what the amount is coming? 1369, or I just write it calculation, just approximation 1370, 1370, 1370. This now, there are different methods of accruals also. When we move into configuration, there is differential method, um, there is reverse and reset method. Generally accruals, when we, I mean, let's always consider the best case, SAP best practice scenario. It always says do reverse and reset. Reverse and reset, but it may vary on the, one of the clients that I worked on, they wanted a differential method. But differential method means that this amount keeps on getting posted each month and the reversal does not happen next month. That is the differential method. And reverse and reset method means this amount gets reversed on the first working day of next month, and at the end of again next month the interest is calculated for that month. So it gets reversed, and for next month again it is calculated for, again it gets reversed, calculated, reversed each month. Last day of the month, accounting team calculates it. Next month, next day of the first day of the month, it automatically gets reversed, or they can manually reverse it. We have both options in SAP. We can make the configuration that it automatically gets reversed. If they have to manually reverse it, they can use TPM45. Just here, accounting, why I'm not writing, just in the, on the, just checking the time also, it will be just opposite entries, right? On company code Y. This is a simple case of accrual company code. Now I said at the end of the term, which is 26/04/2021, what will happen? My interest, my deal gets matured. Matured means now X has to pay back what it borrowed from Y, and Y will receive that money. Just simple opposite entries. Here it becomes this. Is it right? Another component becomes interest. Initial interest was not there, but now interest comes into picture. 1 million, 1 lakh. or I might write it complete. 100,000, 10,000 lakh, 10 lakh, right? And the total 11 lakhs. 100,000. Okay, understood? This is the accounting entry at the end of end of the term. Opposite in Y gets again bank statement gets from the bank, reversal happens, accrued interest account becomes zero. There is when the final everything is done, you put a TPM 44 again, make sure accrued interest account nothing is pending. The amount should only be in your main cash account. It should be in main cash account. It should be an IC loan account, which is the position account, and your interest account. That's it. Nothing else. Everything else will become zero. Accrued interest or deferral or whatever, pay rec, bank clearing, everything becomes zero. So this is one example of intercompany loans. One of the simple instruments in SAP, I would say, not very complex, but its complexity just increases in the configuration because we have to do the mirroring. Whenever you whenever you do it for the business will never agree to create it on both sides. They will say, okay, I have created it on X, why should I create the same on Y? System should take care of it itself, right? And it makes sense. It's an intercompany loan. And then the configuration becomes a little complex, not much, but just a little complex, but otherwise a very simple instrument. Okay. uh, any questions here before I move on to the next part of my presentation? Any questions? I appreciate all the questions. Okay, I take that as no and I move. So this is something you
Usually,
see.
this
Yeah.
intercompany loans and all will come under the IHC and PSIRC. Yeah,
No,
this
this
is
is all
it's
a part of treasury. This is a part of treasury. IH is a different module altogether. This is TRM, core TRM, treasury and risk management, core treasury. All whatever I have been telling, nothing is IHC or cash right now. It will come. I am just trying to finish this off, the overview of treasury. Okay, let's think of another example. I'll
okay.
not go to Excel and right. Sorry, is there any further question? Okay, so I'll not go to Excel and write all of this again for bonds, but just difference. I'll just tell you the difference. Generally, bonds is a security. This is a OTC. OTC, over the counter. Over the counter, two companies, two entities exchange money between them. Simple, right? To exchange, two counterparty get into a deal and do it themselves. They don't include a don't do it over a trade. What do you think is more safe? Doing it over a exchange is safe, like through Sensex, or directly dealing with my another company. Intercompany loan is a different scenario. It is within a company, so that's okay. But just say if you are considering a fixed term deposit, you saw recently how our banks have been. Some of the banks have there have been some major issues with Yes Bank and another bank initially. So there is always some amount of risk. In exchange, again, the risk is there. My security is my interest rate might fall drastically considering the market situation. COVID-19 comes in and suddenly my Sensex falls from 40,000 to 30,000 and all of my interest rate falls and my rupees goes down at all time low and everything else. But still your security is a much safer instrument. You do not have a counterparty risk there, right? You do not have a counterparty risk there. We talk about fixed term deposits always very safe, we take it very safe, but we also have to check with the bank the conditions. If bank gets liquidated, we deal with the major banks, so that's not a problem, but just saying in other examples, counterparty could be another one also, right? Similarly, debts, bonds, what is the difference? I create a when a company issues bonds. Okay, first thing, let's say I'm a global company, I want to issue bonds. What is the reason for issuing a bond? What is a bond? You must have heard treasury bonds. If you follow a little bit of market bonds, and this is a common term, right? So when a company issue bonds, when it needs to raise the capital, I want to raise the capital, I need to issue bonds. That is one of the ways of raising capitals, right? I issue bond, I go into liability, right? Because I have to pay back that money. What I do, I promise some interest on that. Interest, it's not a fixed rate interest as we saw in the previous. I There is a coupon rate which comes into the picture here. Coupon rate means based on some coupon, it that kind interest uh, is paid in a dividend form, or it's paid annually, or you can capitalize the interest. All those things are coming, but this is completely based on exchange traded. It is a unit. You buy a unit. A unit can be 10 rupees, a unit can be $10, a unit can be $1. Okay, so you generally, when you do it in the company always tries to keep a unit at one of its, like one USD, one INR, to keep things simpler. But yeah, it can be different also. So that is how a bond works. You raise a capital, you invest number of bonds, then there is more master data, because a bond is also a master data. You create XXX bond. XX bond is also a master data, that we use a different transaction called FWZZ to create that. There is a security account which we have to create here. Security account is nothing but, you say, security with the bank. As you do a security with the bank, you have to, if you work in the DMAT, or you invest in DMAT, you would understand more that what is a security account. Anyways, we will go into the details, but for now, you can consider it as a very simple exchange traded instrument, where company raise a bond to raise the capital, and then it pays some amount of coupon or dividend to the shareholders over the period of time. It's generally very long term. Generally very long term. Okay, and rest of the payment scenarios remain same. A dividend is calculated in a different way, not through TBB1 or the way I showed in intercompany loan, but there is a separate way of doing it. We define the conditions in the master data, and then it changes and we create it, right? Now let me move to, I have covered very basic of treasury. I did not want to go in details. I just wanted to take one example and show what is treasury. But in today's world, treasury is completely incomplete without in-house cash and cash management, especially cash management. In-house cash, I would still say it is a kind of an optional module, but it is really into demand. You can check any openings on current jobs today. Cash management and in-house cash, you will find a lot of openings. Cash management. When we talk about cash management, what is a cash management? Now let me move to first screen. Okay, I did not include that screen. Okay, so cash management, before coming to this bank account management, let me show you. Yeah. So in a company, when you want to invest, you need to know your cash positioning, right? If you do not know the cash positioning in a global company, you have hundreds of accounts. In a global company, consider a Google or a big company, Microsoft, they have hundreds and thousands of accounts. Now, so with so many accounts, your cash at different places, I want to do some investment. Doing investment is not that simple. You need to have you know, you need to have your cash forecast ready. I cannot do an investment and suddenly, suppose I was just doing investment without knowing the entire picture of my company. And suddenly this COVID-19 situation came and I had invested a lot of money. I did not know my cash position. Suddenly this came. I did not have the long term forecasting done. Suddenly the situation came. My money is kind of seized at this point for a global company, say KFC or McDonald's or anything, which depends a lot on people coming in. The money is not coming in, but the company still has to pay to its employees. How would it pay if it does a wrong investment in the beginning? It cannot withdraw its trades, right? Suddenly, go bankrupt and do, or in the market, your company is listed in stock exchange. You cannot withdraw, suddenly start withdrawing money suddenly. It will have an impact. So what we do is we take care of all these things in cash management. We do a cash flow forecast. Cash flow forecast. Today's short term, long term, everything is done. Everything is taken into consideration from your accounts payable. It's a very good integration of finance plus treasury plus even MMSD. Cash management covers all your areas from your purchase order, sales order, vendor invoice, customer invoice, payments done, treasury deals, investments, foreign exchange, your planned records, which there is a vein system. If nothing is created, you can create a simple plan record that this is what I am planning to do. All those come into cash flow. Now this cash is there is a short term cash, there is a long term forecast which you do, and based on this it is always easy to this visibility of cash is, if you read all the treasury surveys today, you will understand visibility of cash is the biggest challenge for a treasurer. If a treasurer has visibility of its cash, where its cash is lying, it is a huge profit to the organization. A company will, a company's treasury will always be successful if it is doing two or three things right, one of which is it has the visibility of cash at each point of time. Okay, this comes from, we will go through the integration also, how it comes from various sources, from your invoice level, how this is flown. There is a, if you would have seen the contents of my the contents that I provided, I covered integration of cash with AP, AR, treasury, all these things. So this this will be covered. Taking a simple example, I did not come to bank account management. Maybe I'll come thinking I'm. But let's take a simple example of purchase request, a P2P cycle. A simple purchase requisition is what you request for a purchase order. It gets accepted, a purchase order is created, an invoice is created in FI. Point number three, you see FI comes into picture, FI. But point number four, you do F110. I hope everyone is a bit aware of F110, if not completely. It is a way to do automatic payments to your vendors and customers, mostly vendors. So in customers, it is credit memos mostly. But when you once you do F110, your bank clearing gets account gets hit. Next day, when you receive the bank statement, your actual. Now you think of this scenario and think how this would work. A purchase requisition is created way before an actual payment is done, right? There could be a case I create a purchase requisition today and purchase order tomorrow, and then the invoices for due date is 3 months from now, right? You have the payment terms in finance where you talk about what is the payment terms and how far it is going to when it is going to mature, or maybe not mature but due, when the payment is due, right? Now this is uncertain. Purchase requisition and purchase order, are they certain? Do you think about certainty? I might create purchase order, but I know and might not create payment, right? Purchase requisition is a completely uncertain thing. So in cash position, live update happens that it is an uncertain thing, but this cash flow is expected. Certainty, less certain, uncertain. With a certainty level, let's say it's divided into some technical terms, which I'll come to, cannot tell you now, but it is a bit uncertain. Purchase order, again, a bit uncertain. Invoice becomes more certain. I create an invoice in the system, even though I have not paid it, it becomes more certain. Cash flow gets updated with a different, in a different column, in a different view, with a different, if I talk in technical terms, if some of you understand, with a different planning level, with a different liquidity item. Okay. Where my cash is at this point of time. What is the source of that cash? Source of my cash is purchase order, which becomes my liquidity item. My cash is at sorry, my cash is at invoice, which becomes my AP, right? Where is my cash? My cash, my it is at invoice level. It has not been paid. It has been paid. Now, when does it become certain? What do you think? When it becomes 100% certain, this is a cash, this is actual flow. It becomes when we actual get the bank statement. Sorry. So when we actually get the bank statement, this becomes certain that now this cash flow has certainly happened. It becomes actual. The all this live update happens as you move in the invoice. This is a very close integration that we do of. This is an example of APR. Similar example, you create a trade in treasury, you do posting, you create a payment request, you do a payment run. All of those steps get updated in cash position. And a cash manager has a view of all of these. He understands, a cash manager understands, okay, this is today. So, okay, I have this much cash in surplus. I know that this is with the payment terms, when it is due, your payment is due 3 months from now. You do not want to you don't want to pay it now, but you have the sufficient cash, but you do not want to keep the cash there for 3 months. What would you do? You would do a short term investment. Simple. That is what we should also do. If I have surplus money in my savings account, what I should do? I should go and do a but I need it after 1 month. After 1 month, there is a event that I need it for. What I would do, I would should not keep it in my savings account. Find the best option for 1 month. Put it as a short-term investment. Instead of 4% in savings account or 3% in savings account, it's better to get 5%, even for 1 month, right? The simple concept applies in SAP also. How a cash manager can benefit the company? Just think of this way. We are talking about of a MNC which has $1 billion company. Its small amount is everywhere, is in on bank accounts. If a cash manager gets a view of everything at once, just imagine what a cash manager can do in a company, right? Again, similar example for trade creation. As I said in the previous screen, it gets updated at place every place you are. And there is a very very, what I am talking about is completely new cash management, guys. If you are thinking about ECC, I am not talking about ECC at all here. ECC also, it was possible, there was a configuration, there were limitations, but new S4 cache management functionality, technically I agree it has some challenges, especially with SAP's uh, the product that SAP has given. It needs a lot of improvement. Technically, we have to implement a lot of SAP notes. Always we have to implement SAP notes when you implement cache management. But if you are able to implement cache management end to end, it is a very, very good product. New cache management is extremely, I would say, one of the most, if you even see the innovations that SAP brought in S4 HANA, in treasury, the biggest thing was cache management. It is not even called cache management. Like in asset, you called it as new asset accounting. It's called new cache management. Asset is still similar. It is completely new, this part. Highly in demand, not known by a lot of people. This is a simple EBS case. I will not go to EBS case considering the time, but it's a simple case where you receive a bank statement, load it into system. But EBS is, I have put it into slide. EBS is not part. I mean, no trainer will cover EBS in treasury, but I will cover it because I don't think without EBS treasury works. Treasury cannot work. Internal EBS, external EBS, trades, invoices. My cash management is so much dependent on my EBS. My cash management will not work. I was talking about here, right? I was talking about bank statement auto reconciliation. If my bank statement reconciliation does not work, how would my cash management work? It will not know what is actual, what is the cash already at hand, what is debit, what is credit. Finally, what is the cash, right? It will not understand. Now, cash flow forecasting, the things that I was talking, this is a SAP slide. This is a SAP slide where they have shown us various apps where you can see, this cash flow analyzer apps kind of covers all of these things. If we understand this cash flow analyzer app, you can create your own views. The biggest update, cash managers can create their own views directly in production. They don't need to go to IT and ask for the configuration once this is implemented in the system. I can create my own grouping in the system. Just imagine, if you know, if you have any idea about ECC cash management, the problem there was my one bank account is added. I have to create a IT ticket. IT will do the configuration. Support team will do the configuration and update the groupings, and then it will be updated. In new cash management, everything is in hands of cash manager. They can update the groupings themselves, create their own views. It's just as simple as creating a layout. Ev- New cache management is entire in Fury. Nothing. You will not even see GUI screen even months after doing the configuration. Like Treasury, FTR create, I was talking about creating a deal. You can do it in Fury, you can do it in GUI. But cache management, these are new apps. These are only in Fury. So you this they are real time update happens and everything is only in Fury. We have different views. We can do the liquidity forecast, which goes for 90 days from today. Cash flow analyzer, cash flow analyzer goes for, generally the cash position goes for 30 days at once. In liquidity forecast, you can see details up to 90 days. Actual cash, you can see the actual cash. What is the actual cash? Bank statement, which is the confirmed cash. You can see that. What is the actual cash? And there is also an overview app to see all these things and also details. So just overview will show on the just what is the opening balance, what is the closing balance, what is the cash flow, new flow, and while your detail view will give us details insight into each view. Okay. Before moving to my last part, in-house cash, I would just cover some of the bank account management because it's new in S4. If assuming again, you know what is FI12. FI12 is a way to create. If you don't know, never mind, we will cover this. But in ECC, FI12 is a way to create a bank account in SAP, right? Now, creation of a bank account in SAP is very simple. It was very simple in ECC, but what it required was a configuration. F512 was a configuration. It was an IT activity, right? SAP understands the pain of a business here. Doing it is an IT activity. Just adding the bank account into the system, and your MNCs doesn't work in a way that today you request for a bank account, tomorrow it is created. They have their cycles where the transports move into production after on a particular day. So a business might have to wait for 15 days in SAP to create a bank account, or 1 month, or if it falls under your freeze period, it might be 2 months. That is not something SAP could afford. That is not a drawback that SAP could afford. So in new bank account management, SAP has given a new app called Manage Bank Accounts app with a lot of features and lot of integration to payments. This is a completely different uh, integration. Your bank account will be integrated to your payments. Now, when SAP gives this kind of flexibility to users, SAP has to think a user might not be that expert. He can make mistakes. So SAP gives standard workflow. Standard workflow means you create a bank account, someone else approves it in your company, right? You create two teams. How good is that? So SAP gives this kind of functionality, workflow for opening, closing accounts. Again, this is not that a mandatory feature, but I have not seen a client which does not use this. Bank account is a very, very important thing. So no one will create a bank account without getting it approved from someone. So someone will approve it. Someone will check if the every change was made was correct or not. We can use this for creating, we can assign different type of account types. I don't think it was there in ECC. I don't completely remember, but we can classify the accounts as AR account, AP account, treasury account, and think if we classify these accounts in my cash flow analyzer, these accounts come. These accounts come in my cash flow analyzer. I can pull a view just for my AP account separately, just for my AR account separately, just for my treasury account separately, all together into one. So a cash manager has so much flexibility to do all these things. And a cash manager, once he analyzes all these things, will be able to create your trades, will be able to create your um, FX deals, will be able to do the hedging, right? Hedging means risk mitigation. Again, if it sees this amount of cash is there, oh, this is risky, I have to do something of it. Tomorrow, if exchange rate falls, what will happen? I have too much of my I have to invest too much in US and I cannot afford exchange rates to fall today. 70 to 80. USD will still, US, you have an employee in US, it will still take you $1,000. But for me, it becomes from 70,000 to 80,000, 10,000 loss because of none of my operational activity, just because of exchange rate fluctuation, right? So cash manager has to take those decisions. How it will do so? It has to use this functionality. Okay, now I will move to last topic, just taking 15 to 20 minutes more. I hope that's okay. This is one of my favorite topics and I wanted to cover it. This is in-house bank is, I name it as a treasury center of excellence because it is a center of excellence. In-house bank, you read about in-house bank, you will understand it just has numerous capabilities to reduce the amount of money that it can really save a huge amount of cost within a company. Just imagine you have in a decentralized company, you have your thousands of bank accounts. Your thousands of bank accounts. You think that in these thousands of bank accounts, for a current account, not a savings account, current account, business has to pay charges. It has to pay charges on each transaction in foreign currency, right? It has to pay charges on the bank accounts that's with bank. Now, for thousands of accounts, the amount of money it will pay is just huge. In-house bank, what it will do is it will just reduce those thousands of accounts into 10 accounts. Only 10 external accounts I can operate my entity. 10 is just an example. It is based on currency. It could be 20, 30, and with legal restrictions also, it could be more. But it will reduce my accounts by, I don't know, 100 times in a big company. It is that effective. Now, what does that mean? What does that mean? Just think of a scenario. You have thousands of accounts. One thing is for a cash manager, doing the doing the cash positioning of 1,000 accounts is a mess. You have to operate all around the world with different cash manager, local teams for India, for Singapore, for China, for US, for Malaysia. It becomes difficult with so many domestic bank accounts. SAP has given this feature. You can reduce the bank accounts into just very few. Only those accounts will do the payments for you, and there will be, for accounting purpose, I will create those 1,000 accounts as a virtual account in the system. So basically, and if I have only those 10 accounts, just think of a deal that I can do with the bank. I am working with Citibank. I will say that, okay, for my this account, you can expect 100,000 transactions in 1 month. Now, based on that, can you reduce the bank fees? Citibank will say, yes, I can do that for you. Negotiations become easy, right? Cash pooling. Now again, think of a scenario: 1,000 bank accounts. Cash manager sees 1,000 bank accounts, and it has to create a short term deposit or a overnight term deposit. There are countries, I have seen countries like Turkey and all. 1 day term deposit works in Turkey. It's that kind of a, I mean, that kind of uh, with the legal restrictions and all those things, they do 1 day term deposit. Each day they renew the term deposit. So that is the kind of scenarios we are looking at here. That is the kind of savings we are looking that Treasury can give to an organization. Now, think of this global cash pooling I am saying. If my entire cash is pooled into just those 10 accounts, or just say for just an example, 10 accounts into one account, that means my all the cash is in one account. Everything else at the end of the day is zero. So I have 10 actual external accounts in the company, right? 10 external accounts. I had 100 accounts. Now, because of in-house cash, I've been able to reduce those to 10 accounts. But I can do a global cash pooling, which means only one account will have the cash at the end of the day. Rest 9 accounts at the end of the day become zero balance. So I have complete visibility in one account. You can do all sort of activities from your investments. This is very closely related to treasury. Just think it that terms. Think of a normal case. You have a family. Your family has 10 accounts in it: your father, grandfather, grandmother, my account, my sister's account, and you are managing the cash for every one of those. So what do you do at the end of the day? You tell, okay, you only have 1,000 rupees in each account, total is 10,000. You tell, transfer 10,000 to me, I will take care. Keep a target balance of 500. Again, just think of it in a maybe a bigger monetary terms, but yeah, say 1 lakh rupees in each account. But how much they need for day-to-day activity? 10,000. You say transfer as 9,000 to me at end of each day. I know I have this much amount of money. With this much amount of money, I can do a certain investment, right? So similar thing will work for corporates also. Corporates can do this. They do the global cash pooling, and believe me, there is no global company MNC in this world which does not do global cash pooling at this point of time. I mean, there might be some companies, but I'm talking about which have very successful treasury organizations. I expect a lot this to grow even more after this COVID-19 situation. We saw after 2008 recession what happened. Companies started realizing the need of treasury. They started realizing the need of savings in the treasury, in-house cash, in-house bank, and this global cash pooling and all these things became, certainly there was a creep in scope. I expect the same after COVID-19. Make no mistake. Certainly there will be an increase in scope of these things. Now again, think from a payment factory. I am doing, let me go to this. I think I did not put that. Okay, let me think of this scenario where a company is doing your 10 bank accounts. They are doing You have 10 company codes. Each company code has its external bank account. Company code is a legal entity. It prepares its financial statements. Agreed. So company code prepares its financial statement. It should do its payment transactions from its own account. It cannot ask someone else to do it. But in-house cash finds a kind of a loophole in that. Every in-house cash prepares accounting for these 10 entities, and in-house cash does the payments on behalf of these 10 entities. So my entity 1 had 10 accounts. Let me see if I can illustrate in Excel. Entity, this is my entity X, Y, Z. It had X is paying in three currencies: USD, Euro, GBP. Similar for this. Y is paying in three currencies. Z is paying in three currencies. Now it has to pay to various vendors, right? In this currency, it will have three accounts. Agreed? X will not have one account. A global company, it will, the amount of bank fees on one transaction is just huge for a cross-border payment. Exchange rate applies, FX rate applies. No one wants to do that. So X will have, it's a saying it's a big company code. It will have account in three currencies. Now X has an account in USD, Euro, and GBP. Y also has account here. Z also has account here. What I will do? I will put IHC. I will make all these as virtual. Into this virtual. Very interesting concept if you understand it. Very, very interesting. So it will make it as virtual in-house cash. In-house cash will also have three currencies. What it will do? X has 10 USD payments. X has 10 USD payments. This is external account now. External accounts. Instead of itself paying to the bank, what it does? It sends it to in-house cash. It sends it to in-house cash, which is now treat here in-house cash or in-house bank is a bank for X. So X sends money to in-house cash. It is done. Its work is done. Nothing to do. Nothing further to do. In-house bank will take care of sending this money to bank. Similarly, Y. Similarly, Z. It will. These all accounts become irrelevant. These all become virtual. We create this as virtual account. We call it current account in in-house cash. In-house cash has the features of what features it has. If you think if okay if you think about um, say in-house cash, you will say company X has to prepare its financial statements. This in-house cash might be based out of entity say A, which is neither of these three. How will it prepare its financial statements then? Right? There is a problem. How this problem is resolved? In-house cash has the capability of generating bank statements. Yes, in-house cash has all the capabilities of a bank a system can have. In-house cash will charge interest. Cash will charge charges. In-house cash will do value dates for these. If the payment in future, it will take care. In-house cash will send the internal bank statements to the system. You will see the same in FIBAN. FIBAN, if you know, is the transaction code to see your bank statements every day. You don't have to send it to the bank. In-house cash will do everything for you. It's a bank, it's an internal bank within an organization that will cover all these features. Number of external transactions reduced, your cost reduced, your bank fees reduced, number of accounts reduced. This is only one or two of the advantages that I'm telling you. It is itself is a big module. In a global company, it takes, I mean, there are companies that I know that takes 2 to 3 years just to implement in-house cash. If the company is global, but if you take example of two entities, it is very simple. We can do it in like uh, maybe 4 or 5 working days. We can put this case together. So yeah, there was some question, I think.
Yeah, here the X, Y, and Z all are in same country, otherwise across the global.
No, it can be in different countries also, not necessary. It can be in different countries. XYZ can be of different countries. There are legal restrictions. It's not that anything you can do in the system. Otherwise, there are countries which does not allow it. There are currencies which does not allow it. Some want explicitly external payments. Okay, there we have to do some kind of a
Maybe some
tweak.
legal issues
Sorry, can you please repeat that?
then across the global payments from maybe some legal issues will be there, no, across the payment globally.
So there are legal restrictions, there are no legal issues, but in-house cash will take care of your 90% of those. But your 10% legal restrictions, I say INR, I say Brazil, I say China currency, those might have those legal restrictions. So for those, it's not that you will not use in-house cash for those. You will use, but you will have to create a cash pool just for those countries. So I am talking about one in-house cash bank area. You can put it in three also, right? IHC 2, IHC 3. Now this is in China, this is in Brazil, and this is in Netherlands, Europe. Europe, everything will be covered. There are very limited restrictions in Europe. US, I can create one more. But still, just think of a MNC, how much it can reduce. These all things will come into picture when you actually discuss the requirements with the client. But for now, I'm just trying to explain you the advantages of this. I have implemented across multiple clients in-house cash, and I can tell you that most of these legal requirements can be taken care of by a tweak. That is what we do. As consultants, we take care of that. Just by a tweak, we can take care of those. Some definitely, some have more legal restrictions than others, which we actually cannot directly use in-house cash and might have to do the payments externally. But in most other cases, it can be taken care, right? So taken care means you can. So auditors, what does auditor ask for? When a company says I have done this payment, auditor asks for bank statements. And in most of the cases, the internal bank statement generated from in-house cash works as a proof for audit. So there the legal restriction becomes, it minimizes the legal restrictions in most of the entities, most of the countries throughout the world. I know maybe 10 or 15 countries which still have these legal restrictions, but other 200 countries you can do this. So those internal bank statements work as an audit proof, and that is just generated by in-house cash. In-house cash will generate interest also. Now this in-house cash is paying on behalf of this company, so it will obviously charge something, but that charge, you can put that charge much less than the external charges, because in-house cash will have to pay something to the bank also, right? It has external accounts, but this charges can be much less than the external charges, and that is how your company will make profit. In-house cash will make a lot of profit. I said in the beginning, if you remember my words, I said in the beginning, treasury is a cost center. Treasury is still a cost center, but using it intelligently, you can convert a cost center into a profit center. You can make profit through treasury also, right? And you can just read about these things. It's not that, I mean, it's not that you might understand it at first go, but I always try to relate it to the real business case and make it understand, then directly going into the configurations. Because configurations, if you know the concept, treasury, in-house cash, cash management, or anything, or FI, or any SAP module, I think if you know the concept, SAP is simple. You can get the configuration guides and we can prepare those and give it to you. You can implement everything. But knowing business is far more important than just knowing the concepts. Okay. So just okay, we covered this part of treasury trade, right? We saw this accounting, I showed you in Excel. This payment run I did not cover because I said it is something that is very simple, and it is just pay rec to bank clearing. This we covered. Accruals we covered. Valuation amortization we did not cover. We will cover as we go along. It's only a 1 hour session. I've already extended, but yeah, reconciliation and reporting, SAP gives numerous, I mean, in treasury, SAP reporting is just brilliant. It just gives so many standard reports to do the reporting. You check the positions, you check the total positions, you check the accounting, subledger accounting, general ledger accounting, you check the mass transaction T codes. There are just so many of those without even customizing. In customizing, we can create even more reports, but yeah, customizing, I mean, with the help of a map here. We can create more, but there are just so many available: TPM 12, 13, 20, and these valuations and all are created through when we do valuations. Valuation is, what is valuation? If you are working in finance or that part of, you will understand the valuation, right? Unrealized gain loss that we post at the end of each month. If you work foreign currency evaluation that you do in finance, similarly you do that in treasury, but it's much better. I mean, not better, I would say much, it is much more advanced in treasury. In treasury, we calculate the net present value of a trade using certain configurations and formulas. In system uses some formulas and we do certain configurations, and then it calculates those things. And for in-house cash, there is something called payment order. So whatever payment order will be a payment between two current accounts. Current accounts is a virtual account I create in in-house cash, and then I will do this payment request and F111 run and bank statement reconciliation, generate internal bank statement. As I said, internal bank statement generation, a very key concept to in-house cash. It will make sure your subsidiary entity or subsidiary has just the right amount of uh, just the right data to prepare its balance sheet. It will never suffer because you are using in-house cash. What is a company code? A company code is a legal entity, right? It is a legal entity that prepares its financial statements. Now, a legal entity should have its own accounting. This internal bank statement will completely take care of that. And then the GL transfer from in-house cash. In-house cash, again, treasury is a subledger, I said in the beginning. In-house cash is also a subledger. In-house cash is a subledger to FI. Everything is, AR is a subledger, AP is a subledger, in-house cash is also a subledger. Finally, it has to transfer everything into FI at the end of the day, right? Okay, so I wanted to wrap up bank communication management. Again, it's a simple module in SAP. I have covered this in my slide, just 1 or 2 days. Just 1 or 2 days it will take to cover. This is a very simple topic. It just offers some additional functionalities where you can see this, the cash management, in-house cash and BCM are really important for treasury, especially in an MNC. But I have to tell you that this can be done even without implementing treasury. So these modules you can also integrate it with ARAP and use this. If treasury is good, if treasury is implemented, obviously that is our first point, first thing that we will cover in our entire training, treasury, because most of you are want to learn treasury. But I'm just telling you, these modules just add on. FSCM is wide, but whatever we are covering here is crux of FSCM. The other modules like credit and dispute management, all those things are very simple modules and no longer even used. Credit management is completely in S4 HANA, moved to F5, most of it. Hardly you will see a client implementing credit management, dispute management nowadays. Yes, it's always good to know things, but yeah, that is not part of what we can cover in this. Now, life cycle of a payment, it just tells you how a payment is created, how you get the real time updates from the bank, if it's accepted by bank, rejected by bank, and how this gets updated in SAP. It's you can put approvals into it. You can there is a bank statement monitor which will show you the opening balance and the closing balance just based on the bank account. All these features are available in bank communication management. It is very easy to do this, considering it is a very simple module, I would say, simplest of all that we have covered. I do not want to, we already extended 1.5 hours. So what I would do is I'll open the forum for questions and answers for a few minutes before we wrap up the session. So I appreciate all your questions. Any kind of questions. I'm open to any
Hello,
kind of question.
hello. Regarding of in-house bank,
Yeah.
so it's a ECC version and S4 version, both are same. So as you
Both
mentioned,
are
cash management completely different now. So
right. Good question. So in-house cache SAP has not made a lot of changes. So if you know ECC, you will be able to do it in S4HANA. There are SAP is always doing some things like adding new Fiori apps to make it easier for end user, because Fiori, with the advantages of Fiori, you can use it over your phone, tablet. You can customize your screens, customize your home screen just like you do um, in your phone. You can create your own tabs just like you do in your phone. So definitely it's operatable on Fiori. There are one or two reports that are better in Fiori, but it's just very similar to what it was in ECC. Don't see a major change coming into in-house cache as well. SAP has already covered most of the banking functionalities in in-house cache. So SAP did one thing, just to tell you. It integrated your in-house cache BCM into a new module called Advanced Payment Management. That is very new in 1909. S4 HANA 1909 Advanced Payment Management is there. There is one sub module. So what it covers, it apart from your in-house cache, in-house cache will cover what is in SAP. Suppose you have in an organization, there are some entities which uses non-SAP systems also. To integrate that to in-house cache, it required customization. Now SAP has tried to make sure that it covers that in advanced payment management. That is a different module, but that doesn't come under in-house cache, but it is integration of IHC, BCM, and covering from third parties. In-house cache also had one major advantage that I completely did not discuss about, was intercompany netting. It is again a complete area in itself. It would require some amount of time to cover this. I can cover this if people are okay, but we can cover this in the in-house cache sessions also once we move it to this, with the business scenarios and configurations and end user activities, including all.
Yeah, my
Also
question
cover.
is, sorry.
No, in your training it's cover workflow related scenario also. Like most of things are approval process there. So,
Yes, standard workflow we will cover.
okay.
Standard workflow, not a ABAP workflow. We will not do any custom workflow, but the standard workflow that SAP has given, we will cover those. We will make sure that we make you approve things. For example, if a bank account is created, someone else has to approve, we will cover that scenario. It's a standard workflow given by SAP. We can configure that. I can
Okay,
show you some
my
workflow T codes also. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
my question is, will you cover trade finance and hedge management as well?
Hedge management we will cover definitely. Hedge management is one of the most important modules of treasury. Yes, hedge management we will cover. Trade finance, you mean bank guarantee and letter of credits and all those
Correct,
things,
correct,
right?
correct, correct,
So
correct,
we
correct.
can cover those. We haven't put that. I don't remember if I put that in contents, but we can give an overview of that. But with the kind of hedge management complete, we will cover. Don't worry about that. And that also not classic, but new hedge management cockpit, which is in S4 HANA from 1709, 1909, 1809, 1909. That we will cover. Trade finance, we will give you an overview. We will give you how those works.
Okay.
I cannot commit if we will cover the configurations of those. We can cover one of the instruments if time permits, but I am 100% sure if we cover everything else, what we have given in contents, you will be able to configure it. If you understand even one product yourself, you can configure everything else in treasury. One product of
Okay.
security, one of money market, one of FX, and
Okay.
you will be able to do everything else yourself.
And my last question is, recently SAP has included the commodity and risk management within treasury.
Yeah, commodities
That
is never part of treasury. Yeah, you are right. It is very similar to treasury, but commodities is
uh-huh.
still a separate module. It does not come under treasury, but the configurations are very similar in nature. So the way that we create deals here, we will do the similar things there. Instead of your FX trades and currencies, there will be your commodities, your gold, your silver, and all of those things. But commodities we are not covering.
Okay.
But if you understand
Uh,
this, you will definitely get an idea to understand commodities.
Okay. Okay.
Abhi Gaurav here. Um, uh, so Abhi, I have one doubt as we are new to treasury, and as you know that treasury is over and above finance. So before coming to SAP, we need some background of it. So will it be, I mean, difficult to understand the business processes, what is about product type, hedging, and what are the derivatives, OTC, swap, interest, foreign currency, to understand and again to
So
map
for
into in SAP application?
right to answer that, I need to know your background,
Yeah, I'm working in a finance, and it's
but
been
not in
around 8
SAP.
years. No, in SAP only,
SAP,
but
no, then it's not difficult for you. Then it's not difficult for you. As simple as that. I have myself worked in SAP Finance for 4 years before moving to Treasury. So I mean, along with Treasury, so Treasury is not difficult if you know SAP Finance. As
uh,
simple as that.
because because what I could see is like in our organization also, eventually if you are a part of SAP team or SAP capability, they have a separate set of team who only deals with treasury projects, so they are not
Right.
included in the general core module SAP projects. So is there any difference out of it, why the organization has kept separate
Because
team?
yes, because Treasury requires professionals. Um, so Treasury requires some. It's not simple finance, right? Eh, You know, SAP FI, I can bring a fresher which is not even from financial background, and in few months I can train him. Treasury, it is more complicated than that. You need to understand how market works. You would have, I mean, some idea you would have got with this 1.5 hour training session. It's not much, but you would might have got some idea how it works, right? So you need to understand. I did not even go to the complex terms till now, yield curves and how the net present value is calculated and all those things.
Correct,
So
correct.
some part of that is definitely, uh, I would not say that, but what I have felt is, from the way that I have been working in a global treasury company and all those things, it's not difficult for people to learn treasury if you know SAP Finance. If you do not know SAP Finance, then it will take just a bit more effort. I will not say again it is very difficult or something. The effort you have put is is just a bit more. But since you know
No,
finance, you know
actually,
SAP.
I was going through some of the videos where they used to tell that put option, call option, forward call, backward call. So all these terminologies are, quite. I mean, for me, it's quite difficult to understand to get the
Yeah,
gauge
because
out of
if you
it.
directly see, I did not use put call anything in my presentation today. Neither I put that, because these are terminologies you can understand once you understand simples. What is spot forward? If you don't understand spot forward, I cannot tell you what is put and call. These are simple options where the exercise rights begin. I in my one of the slides, I gave what is the, I think in the second slide I mentioned that front office, what does front office do? It does the deal creating and the exercise rights. Exercise rights, they come into picture for put and call option. But I cannot tell you directly that until I tell you what is a forward, what is a FX, what is a spot, what is a non-deliverable forward. So we have to go in an order to understand these things. If you directly go and see some videos, um, it might be difficult. So if you go in the order, you understand what is FX, how it works, and then why options are needed, why put is needed, why call is needed. And I can assure you it's not difficult.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Yeah, Abhi, this is
That is
Shekhar.
a
I
good
haven't.
Yes, please. Yes,
Abhi, can
Shekhar,
you
you
hear
go
me?
on. I will take the other question after this. Yes, Shekhar, please
Okay.
tell me.
Yeah, actually, I want to know. Actually, couple of members in I mean in SDM only someone posted if Treasury once implementing the Treasury option, I mean application. Sometimes after implementing they are releasing to FICO areas only in the companies or some other opportunities also. So how the requirements will be in future
I did not
after
understand your
implementing
question.
this?
Sorry. You are saying after
Once
implementing
implementing
Treasury,
the yes,
after implementing Treasury, then
uh, they sometimes they will be releasing the resource if required they will continue. Otherwise, they are releasing to project like that. I heard.
see, I tell you one thing. If you,
Okay.
yeah, these are kind of rumors, but if you go and check LinkedIn today, I don't see
Okay.
as much demand of finance as treasury. Everyone, I mean, because obviously finance is more, finance demand will remain more always. But
Yeah, yeah.
if you compare the salaries, it's just completely different. You know, simple BCom, BA people are also doing FICO, BTech people are also doing FICO. But treasury, you see, generally professionals are there. And once you get into it, it doesn't matter what is your background. I was not
Yeah,
initially of
actually,
the
I'm
accounting
into
background.
yeah. Actually, I'm into SAP only. Last 8 years, I'm in SAP only, finance area.
Right.
So now, recently, I saw the updates in forum only. Uh, that's why I'm asking this question.
No. Don't worry about these things. I mean, you know, once you learn treasury, you can also jump to corporate treasury. You can jump out of SAP also, right? It's not that you need to be in SAP, but just think if SAP is investing, if you just read SAP articles, just check where SAP is investing more. Now, SAP being such a global company, you know, it has what 100 plus modules SAP has. If I talk about small modules also, WM, SDM, and all these things, there are 100 plus modules of SAP. Now, if 100 plus modules of SAP, where SAP is investing most, you just check that top 10 modules. I can assure you, treasury cash management is one of those. Even yesterday, uh, SAP gave a link, SAP gave a webinar on under this COVID-19 circumstances, what should corporates do for treasury and how treasury can help you. You know, when a need of treasury is realized in a company, when everything is going good, then all is well. When suddenly something goes down, like this situation, current market situation, treasury people will realize the need of treasury, of implementing a TMS system. And SAP S4 HANA has just come up with every possible, you know, I did not talk about integrations at all. Integrations with external trading platform, how it is auto integrated, how you create a deal here, it is created in a trading platform. How does all those things work, or vice versa? So all those integrations SAP is giving, and people are moving to treasury. You will never, I mean, I don't see, at least I don't personally see any decline in treasury. And the other thing I should
Okay.
tell you, that we are not only talking about treasury here. Treasury, cash management, in-house bank. There are three topics that we are talking about here. And there generally in the job description, and it's always written treasury, in-house bank, and cash management, all these are required. But you know, cash management, in-house cash in itself is something, if you understand it completely, you can just get jobs based on these things. So I see
Okay.
that cash in the biggest challenge for a CFO is cash visibility. If we can solve that kind of challenges with TMS implementations, they don't care if it's $100 million project also. It's a sorry, $1 million, $2 million project also, right? So that's
Okay.
a big challenge for them. And you know, global treasuries have realized this. Okay, I'll give you an example. You know, Google. You must
Yes.
have heard. Google implemented SAP Treasury before implementing SAP Finance. Google is one of the very few companies which implemented SAP Treasury first as a standalone solution when their finance was in Oracle, and then they moved they moved their finance into SAP. But just telling you that if company like Google does that, it really means that there is some demand in the market. All of your big corporates are going into SAP Treasury. No other TMS application can support large corporates. It can support your Kariba, your Quantum, your Reval, Murex. All these can support medium to large, medium, short, small to medium level companies. But your large level companies, none of these have the capabilities, especially if the finance is there in. And there are still a lot of opportunities in treasury. If I see two things: one, people are moving from S4 ECC to S4 HANA. They need treasury people. Second, new treasury implementation projects are coming in. New treasury implementation projects are coming in where people are realizing they have already implemented SAP Finance, but if there is something missing in their company that could help us is cash management. Even if they are not going for treasury, they are saying, okay, cash management is something that can help us even for our APAR, in-house bank, treasury. You can
Okay.
verify all the things that I'm telling in Google. I mean, it's not that I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah,
telling
yeah.
because Yeah, you
Yeah,
can just
yeah.
verify all of these things. These all things are very true.
Thank you. Thanks for your
Yeah,
valuable time.
Yeah, no
yeah, Abhinay. Yeah, Abhinay, this is Srinivas. I'm very much interested in that demo. And one point, I actually, for traders, there is no TRM like that. I saw some video like the
Sorry,
Reuters on
sorry, sorry.
Bloomberg.
Again, please, again. I lost you.
Without faders, there is no term works like that. Reuters, Bloomberg. And what is the significance of this one?
Yeah, very good question. So you just think, where will you get the exchange rates from? Where will you get the interest rates from? Market data from? External data providers. What is the external data
Yeah,
provider? Reuters, Bloomberg. Without exchange rate, will your treasury work?
yeah,
Without interest rate, will your treasury work? Without external market data, will your treasury work? In market risk analyzer, there is so much data. There is no product which can work without. I mean, I cannot always create the example I showed you of intercompany loan, that was within a company. But think of a bond. For a bond, you need external rate. For a for a FX option, FX simple FX spot, you need exchange rate, right? Where will you get that exchange rate from if you do not have the integration with Bloomberg and Reuters? It is not possible.
yeah. But the subscription is
Other
very
option is
costly,
no, other
like a
option is you can
Bloomberg.
upload the market data yourself every day. There is the SAP gives that option. If it's a small level company or a small to mid level company, there is an option of uploading the market data yourself. You know the market data, copy and upload. Don't build an interface with Bloomberg. But is it practical?
Yeah, because the subscription is very high, like $23,000 for a Bloomberg subscription.
So in our contents, we have a specific thing for market data management, which will cover this part. So I know this is expensive, but this you need for any TMS system, my friend. You do not need it for treasury for SAP. You go for Kariba, you go for Quantum, you go for Reval, you go for unless you are doing your treasury in your Excel. I don't think there is any system which will work without external market data. External market data is definitely needed. But for your finance
Do
also you
you
need external market data, right? How would you work if your company has finance? Already it has external market data coming in. You create an invoice
Yes,
in a foreign currency. The translation happens on the basis of external market rate, exchange rate. How that external exchange rate works?
yeah.
How that value is
So
coming
directly,
from Bloomberg, Reuters. I mean,
and
if
do
you
you
are talking
recommend
about,
any book to get? Yeah, do you
yeah,
recommend
you
any
can go through it.
to get the no, to get the functional terminologies, like those terminals we don't know. So do you
No,
prefer
that
any books to read this one? Otherwise, will you give the some background of that one?
yeah, definitely. So what I need to be clear about is my audience, sir. If I know what you need, I will definitely give you. If I see it's only some hours of training that we can provide you. You have to put in your effort, but we will give you the required material to put in that effort, right? I can give you the required material. I can explain you the terminologies. I can put a specific Q&A session at the end for each day, 15 minutes. Those things I can help you with. But you have to read some terminologies yourself also. I mean, I'm trying to make the expectations clear. It should not be like you join and then you think that you will learn everything like this. It's not a very
Yeah,
simple module, but it's very much in demand. And if you put in a little bit of effort, you will understand everything. Again, we will give you the terminologies. We can give you the term. If you just want to read the functional, words, go to Investopedia. Just type the word, you will get it. You will get with examples. Not only if I go to Google, you go to Investopedia. There is one Investopedia link. Just put in the word. For example, uh, you put
derivatives.
in yield curve. You put in derivatives. You will get the details with the examples. What is an underlying asset? How it is dependent on an underlying asset? All those things.
And how many sessions will you going to take this one?
So that I have to discuss with the tech brains. What is the exact, what is the exact based on the contents, we will try to cover everything. Even if we have to take 5 more sessions, then 4 or 5 more sessions, um, than what has been mentioned. But yeah, I have to discuss this with tech brains before I can commit anything to you. They are the employers, so I have to discuss it with them.
Okay, thank you.
But rest assured, the contents given in the training material, we will cover that, even if we have to take some extra sessions. Okay, at least the basic scenarios and yeah, that would be covered. If you
I
go for
missed
an
the
in-house cash or sorry, if you go for in-house cash or cash training itself, it can take a lot of time, right? So we will try to integrate it and explain it both in business terminologies as well as SAP term to you. Everything we do, we try to always relate it to business terminologies. That is what I try to do today. I could have gone into the system and created a deal for you, FTR create. It would have taken me much lesser time than to explain it on an Excel, right?
Initially, I missed
That, that
5 to 10. So that's why I didn't see that what are the contents you are going to cover. That's the thing.
contents I have not covered here. Contents TechBrains must have shared with you. If you want, I can show you the
Okay, right.
contents also. If you want to see the contents, let me check if it's in my Gmail. Yeah, I can forward you the contents, sir. I can forward or TechBrains will. Suresh, can you please forward them the contents again? Yeah, I'll talk to TechBrains and make sure that the contents are forwarded.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, mainly it covers these three areas, and everything within these three is covered. Everything means the most important parts. In treasury, we are almost covering everything from market data management to FX to derivatives, um, money markets, securities, hedge management, credit risk analyzer. Market risk analyzer may be an overview, not into details, because that really requires the market data. As you some one of you said, right? Reuters, Bloomberg, we cannot have that integration in the system, but we will try to upload some market data manually and show you some scenario. But yeah, that is. But most of the credit risk analyzer and other things we will try to cover. And in in-house bank we will cover at least payments on behalf of a netting scenarios. And in cash management, whatever we do, cash management will not be a separate sessions. It will go hand to hand with these sessions. So everything we do, I will make sure that you see that in cash management every day. You understand the significance of a cash management and what a cash manager can do for a company.
Abhi, what is the duration overall?